Hello friends, it's Jayma here. Today I'm going to get 15 photos on a double page scrapbook layout, and I'm only going to use a couple of flip flops I think. So this design is going to accommodate tons of photos. I've printed one at 4x6 and the rest are at 3x4, but I'm going to cut a lot of them down to 3x3 as well. So hopefully you can tell where these photos were taking place. These were at Disneyland. Now some of you might know that I recently got back from Disney World with my family, and about a month prior I actually went to Disneyland with my sister at the very tail end of the creative design team trip in San Diego. I tacked on a couple of days to visit with my sister because she lives in San Diego, and we went to Disneyland, and it was just the two of us. Hopefully you can see the resemblance here. Growing up, people always thought we were twins because we were very similar in height and looked the same age. She's actually 2.5 years younger, but she's a little bit taller, so people started thinking she was actually the older one as she started passing me up. So I've got one photo here that's a 4x6, and that's going to be kind of my focal photo. This was on Main Street right when we got there. We were still looking fresh and everything, so I liked this one as the larger focal photo. And then the way I've divided them up here is on this page, I've got the photos that I don't want to cut to 3x3. They're ones that pretty much have to stay a rectangle to keep, you know, the important elements of the photo. I love this one. I actually considered printing that, or I did print it as a 4x6 as well, and I was considering it, but then it was going to be hard to fit the other photos, so I decided to print it as a 3x4, and I may go back and change my mind, but I want this to be my other focal photo right here next to there. So of course I couldn't cut this down because I wanted the castle in the background. So do you notice this castle here? If you've been to Disney World, the castle in Disney World is a lot bigger, but until a couple weeks ago, I had never been to Disney World, so this is the only castle I knew, and I didn't really know any different until Julie went to Disneyland, and she's like, I can't believe how small the castle is. So now I know, and now that I went to Disney World, it's like, wow, this is way bigger. But I love the Disneyland castle, I love Disneyland, and I love this picture. So anyways, little fun fact. So these ones here, I didn't want to, you know, chop off most of the background because this shows all of the Star Wars land and our fun coffees that we got. This is right at the end of the Tiana's ride, which used to be Splash Mountain. We got really wet, drenched, so I wanted to show all of that. But this one I'm going to put in a flip flap, so that one's going to go under there. And then I've got this one here where you can see the Thunder Mountain in the back. Thunder Mountain is one of my very favorite rides. We actually rode that one twice, so I wanted to be able to see that in the background. If we cut that down, it would look a little weird chopped, you know, at our chins. So I want to keep that larger. And then this one, this is right at the entrance where you see the train station at the entrance. So I really like this. I like the composition where we've got this off to the side. So Andrea in our membership group recently did a tip on the rule of thirds and how to take great photos. And it was actually after I took this photo, but now I'm recognizing all of the photos that I really like. The reason why I like them is probably because they follow the rule of thirds. So if you have like a tic-tac-toe grid on here, then this is off on 1/3, and that's very pleasing to your eye. So I really like this photo. I want to keep that in there. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to have like a band going down. I'm going to cut these down just a little bit because I can. I've got room to cut these down maybe 1/4 of an inch so that I can have the band going down the side and have just a teeny tiny gap in between them, so it sort of serves as a white mat, and then I'll have a little white mat on the outside, and then probably a strip of colored cardstock on the sides to just set it off a little bit more. And then these ones I'm thinking is going to be something like this, and I'll probably have my title down below, or maybe some pattern paper going across the whole thing with my title above, maybe some Mickey ears kind of sticking out here. We will see. So that's what I'm thinking on the left side. And then on the right side, I have all of the photos that I don't mind cutting down to 3 by 3. So I've got a stack of 3 right here, and these are going to be my flip flap. So if you're not familiar with flip flaps, this is what they look like. I'm going to have one 3 by 3 over here, and then the 3 by 4 over here. You might notice I only have 2 photos, and that's because I want to add my journaling in the flip flap too. I'm going to have a lot to say. I'm going to type it up, and then that can be in the flip flap too. So this is going to actually get glued down to the page. This is going to go in the flip flap, and then when you flip it up, you'll see my journaling there too. So these have a very sticky strip right here. So you peel that off when you're ready to put it on top of your page protector. You fold this back, and then you stick it down right over the photo, and then you'll be able to lift it up like that and see your photos. So this will house my journaling and an extra photo. And then over here, I'm not sure where exactly this will be. I might put it right in the middle, but these are the photos that this one I wanted to really include. I think I can still cut it down to 3 by 3. I actually held this up. This is a good little tip. If you want to know if you can cut it down to 3 by 3, just hold your 3 by 3 flip flop over it. You can see right through it. I just want to be able to see the pirate sign, a little of the bridge, and I think I can accomplish that and still trim off some of the bottom here without it being funny and right at the bottom of our chins. And notice also this is over off in 1/3, and so I really like the look of that. So these are going to be piled like this. This is another one right in the morning when we looked fresh, and I really like that photo, so I want that one on the top. And then this one of my sister, she got the beignets that are right outside of Pirates of the Caribbean. She said they were amazing. I'm gluten-free and can't eat that, so I was a little bit jealous because I love beignets, or it was like a Monte Cristo and a beignet. She said they were like the best thing ever. So this one's actually going to get glued down. These are going to be in the flip flop, but I still need to cut them all down to 3 by 3. The rest of these are all going to get cut to 3 by 3. So I'll just kind of gauge, you know, I might cut a little bit from the bottom here, a little bit from the top. So what we did was we took a picture on every single ride we went on. I actually left a couple of them off that I didn't really mind, but we were there when it was pretty peak season over spring break, but we got the lightning lane pass. So we got to ride a lot of rides. We had a blast. We even met Pocahontas. It's the only princess or character that we met. So I want to put that in there. I really like this photo. I love I love it as a 3 by 4 too, but I can cut it down and I think that'll be okay. But I think it's really cool how we are over off to the side. All of these pretty beautiful lanterns are up in the top third, and I like them being over on the side too. If I could keep this as a 3 by 4, that would look really great, but I don't really have a place for it, so I don't mind cutting it to 3 by 3. It still follows the rule of thirds. We've got the lanterns in the top third and my sister and I in the bottom 2/3. So I don't mind cutting that down. So I'm going to leave probably a border around the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my photos down and then we'll make some paper selections. Okay, so I've gotten my photos where I want them. I've done a grid style like I showed over here, and that is a great way to get a lot of photos on your layouts. So if you want to do more of a focal style over here, even if you didn't have as many photos as me, you could leave these off and do more of a focal style over here. And then a grid style is a great way to just include a lot of photos. And if you don't have as many photos as I do, you can always fill these spots with some patterned paper. So, you know, maybe if I didn't have these 3 photos, I could use some patterned paper in these spots. That creates a nice visual triangle and some balance on this page as well. But of course I want to fill the photos. So I arranged them so that for the most part, if we're facing this way, I've got them on this side. If we're facing this way, we've got it on this side, and try to kind of balance the colors, like we've got nighttime and nighttime. Big Thunder, we have the kind of red rocks and then the red rocks of the Star Wars area here. So I sort of try to space those out just a little bit. It's dark up here on Space Mountain, so we've got the dark ones like this. And then for my papers, I decided to pull out the Turtle-y Sweet Scrapbooking kit. Now, this has a lot of colors that are typically in a Disney paper pack. I actually have some Simple Stories and I think a couple other brands, papers and stickers, just a little bit that I bought, but I wanted to use this paper pack because it's going to work perfectly. Now, you'll notice that this paper pack has some greens and blues, some blues, and then the red, pink, blue, and yellow in here. And I was really hoping that one of these papers had all the colors. I wanted to bring in the green because there's a lot of green in my photos. There's the trees here and in the background here, and I really wanted to bring out the green, but I'm going to try to do that in another way. So for now, I want to decide what paper I want in the background here. I have all of these pop-outs. I was thinking maybe these little banners might be fun to use. I've got a bunch of the colors here, but I'm going to just set that aside for now. And I was drawn to the polka dots, and I was also drawn to these clouds. These clouds are exclusive to the scrapbooking kit. So there's nothing on the back of the clouds, and I have 2 sheets. On the back of this is the little sprinkles. I don't think I want to use that. And then the other patterns I have are the yellow polka dot, although I don't think I want just one color. I think I want to have multicolor back here. The other side of it is this diagonal stripe, which I really like too, but I'm thinking that I don't usually like diagonals in the background of pages, although that does look cute. That does look cute because I've got a big enough border. A lot of times if the border is smaller, I don't like it as much, but I really like that. That is cute. So that is definitely a contender. And it's a little bit less busy. So I did decide to have the white background because I have so many photos, which makes it busy. Plus I'm using some paper that's somewhat busy. So I want to have plenty of white. And then I matted it in real red, just a skinny 1/4 inch strip all the way, or sorry, 1/8 of an inch strip all the way around. I cut it 1/4 of an inch larger. So this is 12 by 12. This is an inch smaller. This is 11 by 11. And then I cut this 1/4 of an inch smaller. So we have a 1/8 inch border. And I think that's going to be good. I cut this side the same because since we have so many photos over here, I wanted to have plenty of white space. If I had cut the white mat so that it was just right up against my photos like this, then we'd go straight to the red and then whatever busy pattern that is, and there'd be a lot of the pattern shown back here, but I feel like this would feel a little bit too squished, so I wanted to give that white space so your eye has some space to rest around the photos there. And then we'll have a pattern back here. So I was also considering the polka dots. So that could be back here, and that's definitely a busier pattern and makes this feel busier because we have so many photos on there. So let me try the diagonal stripes there too. All right, so that does make it feel less busy, I think. The other option we have is the clouds. So I could put the clouds back there. The problem with that is that it's a bigger print, so you don't really tell quite as much what it is. And I don't love it. I feel like I don't know, it doesn't really do anything for me. I like the stripes better, which is funny because I thought I was gonna like the polka dots better. But I did talk about having a strip of paper going across here, and I'm thinking maybe if it's just like 2 inches, maybe I'll cut it to 2.5 just to be safe. Then that could be kind of my anchoring strip, and I could have it go across here too. Let me go ahead and cut this down and we'll just see. Okay, so this is 2.5 inches, and that's okay. I feel like we need a little something else. So I had this paper, this is from Simple Stories, and I just thought it was so cute that it looks like little tickets. So I cut off a strip from the bottom, just one strip of the tickets, and I like that it brings in a little bit of green. It's got a lot of the same colors as my paper. I think it blends well enough, and then it also introduces that green that I wanted, so I might be able to bring that in some other areas. So what if I do something like that? Have these kind of sit above there, and then maybe I can get away with a green mat around this. Okay, I've got garden green here, which is the green that's in that scrapbooking kit, although it's not in the paper I used from that scrapbooking kit. And the green that's in here is like a brighter green, but I really wanted the darker green to kind of help ground my photos. So what I'm doing is turning it to the light side. Stampin' Up's cardstock, and they have the two-tone cardstock in all the colors now, has a true color on one side, so this is garden green, and then a lighter shade of that same color on the back. So I'm using the light side of garden green, and I like that with my photos. And I think I'm going to like that. It really looks good with these trees, and I feel like it helps draw your eye across because we've got the green right across on this page as well. I think it's going to blend well enough with this green, and maybe we can bring it in some other ways as well. I have this sheet from Scrapbook Customs. This is a thick pattern paper, but it's like a cutout paper. So there's a lot of greens in here. You and Me would be great. Yummy next to the one where my sister is eating, wherever that ended up. I think it's going to be in a flip-flop actually. But let's see, Favorite Ride, Exciting. So a lot of the green from here I can cut out and use as little word strips, and that will work well, I think. So I am liking this green mat, and I'm thinking I want just a little bit of this mat peeking out, and then these are going to be kind of like this, and I haven't decided yet if I want to mat these. So I used a couple of circle dies and created a little Mickey Mouse head. So these are about 1 3/4 and 2 2.5, a little over 2.5. And I'm thinking, like I mentioned, those might be able to be tucked kind of under here. And I think if it goes off this mat, that's okay. I like it tucked in there, but I want to be able to see this little hole right here on the side of his ears. So I want it brought over enough. I think that looks pretty cute. Maybe I can add a little something on there, a little saying or something. And then I had an idea for my title. So I have this little sticker sheet that's also from Scrapbook Customs, and I really like this squad. So let me actually take the stick off of that. I like to use a little anti-static powder bag. This is used for heat embossing, to put on your paper so that the little stray embossing powder doesn't stick, but it also works really well to get the stick off of your stickers. It's like a cornstarch or baby powder type thing in there. And my friend Amy actually has shown how to make one with a sock. So I was thinking sister squad, so I cut out sister with the alphabet a la mode, and I'm not sure if that is going to work, but let's go ahead and try. Now that it's in place, something is just not feeling quite right, so I'm going to take it off and see what else we can figure out. I wasn't feeling those tags, so I took them off, and I'm thinking I want to kind of offset these a little bit more and maybe bring the Mickey head down a tiny bit. Instead of the alphabet a la mode, I decided to bring in the mini alphabet dies. They're a little bit more playful, which I thought might be good for Disney, and I decided to use red so we'd have a little bit of differentiation. And bringing this down kind of fills that awkward space. I'm actually going to move these over just a little bit more because this castle comes up higher. Then I can offset this a little bit, and then bringing this down kind of gets rid of that empty space, and then I may or may not fill it with something here. I feel like we're a little bit empty up here, and I actually had tried putting the sister word up above, but I wasn't really liking it. It felt a little bit disconnected, and I like this font better than the Alphabet a la mode font. So I'm gonna go with this. I feel like this is a little bit empty, so I might kind of try to fill that with something, but we'll just let it develop. So I cut out these word strips from that paper I showed you. Favorite ride, I'm thinking that's gonna go here, right in between two of my favorite rides, although Space Mountain's quite up there. And then we have California Fun. I was thinking I could do a few little strips here. Say cheese, you and me can go here, and that makes a fun little thing. And I'm thinking actually of adding a little bow here. I'm gonna have to pull that out to make it into mini. And then photo op and exciting can go over here because we have the photo op. Of course, all of these are photo ops, but having it with Pocahontas is kind of fun. So I just want to make sure everything's balanced as I do this. I've got 3 points of red right now. I've got green in 2 places. I might want to bring it into another place, although I do have the green over here. So this is the only place I have a green matte. I wasn't liking how, I thought about maybe matting this in green and I wasn't liking it. So this is pulling that green across the page. So a couple things to point out that I did. So these I matted onto a smaller piece of white because that made it easier to line everything up rather than trying to get them all straight when you're about 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch in. It was easier to get them all straight on by just lining them up as a grid here and then trimming the 2 sides to match. And then you know, it's still white on white, so I have plenty of white space like I wanted, but it was easier to line everything up. So there's a little tip there. So for these little pieces, I just trimmed a couple of small pieces and I'm tucking them under here. I decided I liked the blue pieces just on the white inner mat. So same thing over here. I'm just gonna tuck that. I'll have to line these up when I glue them down, but tuck it so that it is just on the white part, not going all the way across. Some of you may recognize this sticker sheet. It is from Close to My Heart's Happiest Place paper pack and sticker sheet back in the day. I have almost the full, actually it might have been the full sticker sheet left. I've used some of the paper, but had all of the stickers because I was saving it for when I scrapbooked Disney, and I've been a few times now. I need to get on these Disney layouts. Sometimes when I have a ton of photos, like Disney World or the last Disney vacation I took with my family about 1.5 years ago, I haven't scrapbooked any of it because there's so many photos, I get super overwhelmed. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. So I am determined to get a start on a bunch of my Disney layouts. And I want to do some videos kind of breaking down how to tackle the overwhelming photos. Because I do have some tips in mind. Sometimes I just don't want to deal with it and I want to do something that's a little bit easier. But I really need to get those scrapbooked. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to my channel to see some upcoming Disney videos as well as working in tips for scrapbooking when you feel overwhelmed. All right, so I've been pulling in some little acrylic shapes that I had from that same Happiest Place collection, the little camera and the mini bow, and I feel like those help balance the black since I had the big black mini head. These are the fancy border dies, and I decided to use one of these to create a fun little edge to put underneath that blue paper. So I knew that I needed something else on this little shelf here, and in the beginning I had that ticket strip and it wasn't feeling right. I think I needed it down at the bottom, and I'm liking this so much better. I like how it pulls the yellow down, and I decided to make it so that you can see that fancy border even underneath the block of photos over on the right. However, if you recall, this yellow paper was the back of the diagonal stripe paper, so I didn't have a 12-inch strip. but I had gutted out a 10-inch square from that background diagonal paper since it's going to be hidden anyway. I've shown how to do that in many videos before. It saves a lot of paper. So I was able to just stretch that and line up where the die cuts it, and it ended up working out just fine. I'd made some minor changes off screen, like adding this little green banner, so now we have the visual triangle of the 3 green pieces. This is the one that said all together, and I just cut off all, and now it says together. So I like that those green points now. Even though we had it over here, I felt like it was missing something. I don't necessarily love that the 2 red pieces are right next to each other, but I didn't have a good solution for that. There was another favorite ride in green, but I would want to put it either here because these are our favorite rides, or over here. And I didn't love the green right here. I don't like the red right here. So I think really I like how this fits and it looks, and I think that with other pops of reds, you know, we do have a nice flow of red, and I think it'll be fine. I might try to add one more little pop of red down here. But I mentioned I was feeling like this was a little bit blank, so I took a little bit of crushed curry and my ink blending tool, and I just blended it onto some scrap paper to see if I'm going to like that up here as just a little bit of ink blending. That always kind of, I don't know, kind of fills in a space. It definitely draws your eye up here. We've got the yellow here and a bright bold yellow here, kind of draws down here and then across here. And so then I feel like it kind of balances out the yellow. But if we have ink blending in one spot, I feel like we might need it in more than one spot. So maybe just a little bit, just a teeny bit peeking out, maybe right here to kind of balance and bring your eye here. And then I swapped these. I did have the yellow here, and I put it in the middle because if I add a little bit of inking up here, I don't want the yellow on yellow. So I'm thinking maybe just having a tiny bit peeking out right there. So it's like boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna try it. I have not glued these pieces down yet, so if I really don't like it, I can just start over and cut a new white piece. When I do ink blending with a blending brush like this, I like to start the brush underneath where the photos are going to be, because when you first put it down, it makes kind of a harsh circle. So that's going to be hidden, and then I'll work on creating a light blend going out to where you're going to see it. And I am really liking that. But in true Jayma fashion, I just had to add some splatters. So I got out my black shimmer pen. This is from Close to My Heart, but you could also use black paint or a black re-inker or water down some liquid pearls or anything that's kind of liquidy and splatter it on with a paintbrush. I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing in the other 2 spots. And I forgot to mention earlier that those 2 focal photos on the left, I dipped them just very slightly in red ink just to add a tiny bit of a red border. I didn't want to add another cardstock matte, but I just very lightly dragged it into my real red ink pad just so it has a slight bit of red to help it stand out. I love the ink blending and splatters. It's even better than I expected. I still want a little red something over here. So I was looking back at this sticker sheet and I have some hearts and some stars. I'm thinking since I have hearts here, I'll stick with the hearts and maybe just put a little heart right there. And I think that's really all it needs. Maybe a little something red up here. I have another, nope, that's the outline of that heart. I have this heart, or I could do the stars. Maybe I'll do the little stars over here. So I have to remember that the flip-flop is going to be here. And by the way, I kept this photo as 3x4 because the flip-flop's going to go on it. And these 2 photos I trimmed down by 1/4 of an inch. So they're 3 by 3 3/4. And then I just made sure I put this piece below where the flip-flop is going to be. So maybe I'll just put a star right here on the camera. I actually like that, and I think that's all I need. It just kind of brings that red all the way over here. I think I am done. So I am going to glue everything down and then we'll take a closer look. All right, friends, I am going to show you the flip-flops in a moment, but I love how this turned out. It just perfectly represents our super fun day all in one layout. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. I did make a couple of tiny finishing touches. See the little Mickey head here, and then there's a couple over in my banners over there. So right here we've got the bow. I love how it kind of hides, so this is 3 different circles. Of course, if you have a Cricut, you could definitely cut out one piece with your Cricut very easily. And then we've got our little shimmer and the splatters there, the fun acrylic pieces, and then of course the Mickey head and that fun scallop there. And then over on the right hand side, we don't have as much embellishing, but I love how what we do have helps draw your eye across the page. So here's a closer look at those little Mickey heads. They're so cute. Those are from this little sprinklets pack. I got this from scrapbook.com, and a little bit goes a long way. I didn't want to add much bling because there's so much going on this layout already. So it was just the perfect little finishing touch. So let me pull in those flip flaps. So first of all, we've got the 3x4, and I added a little spot that I'll add my journaling to, and then one of those little word strips at the top, which is perfect. So that one is going to go over here, and then the little 3x3. By the way, these come in 3x3, 3x4, 4x4, and 4x6. They're available on my Stampin' Up website, which I will link down in the description below. And so again, you'll peel back the little strip here, fold that back, and then on top of your page protector, you're going to add it right on top of your photo. I like to burnish it in, and then you can easily just flip it up and see your extra photos all in the real estate of one photo spot. You can also add more, so they can flip down, they can flip out, so you could have one flip down and then one flip up all in the same spot. There's lots that you can do with these fun flip flops. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and there's another video on screen that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy, so go ahead and click that, and I'll see you over there. Bye!